If I leave, will it still hurt? If I stay, will I still be miserable? Will I regret my decision? Will my kids be okay? Will I be able to create the life for myself and my children that I always dreamed about? What will my family think? What will my friends think?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Truth Bombs and Tantrums, Marriage Real Talk, the podcast for battle weary wives and couples who know that marriage isn't for the faint at heart. I'm Donna DiDomenico, back again as your guest host, interviewing Veronica L. Nabizadeh, a
Yay!
marriage coach, a non litigating attorney, Wonder Woman, and real life wife who came to the edge of walking away from her marriage and chose something different. Over the last three episodes, Veronica has shared her own story, introduced us to the seven relationship saboteurs, and taught us her signature stop, drop, and roll baby technique for interrupting conflict. Now we arrive at the question so many women ask themselves: should I stay or should I go? It's one of the most painful questions a person can ask because there are no easy answers, and everyone seems to have an opinion. Today, we're not going to tell you what to do. Instead, we're going to talk honestly about how to know the difference between being done and being exhausted. Because sometimes what feels like the end is really burnout. And sometimes love isn't enough to save something that isn't safe. So grab your coffee, take a deep
Mhm.
breath, and let's get into it. Hello,
Hello,
Veronica.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today and being a beautiful, amazing guest host.
Oh, thank you for having me. I have been enjoying our time so much together, and
Yeah.
we have talked about so many great things and asked so many good questions. And I know we're helping so many battle weary wives out there. But before further ado, let's get into the first question today. So, Veronica, I think every battle weary wife has asked the question, asked it of herself and maybe of others: should I stay or should I go at some point in her marriage? Why is that question so incredibly painful to ask?
Oh, such a good question. It is so painful because she's trying to make one of the most significant decisions in her life without a crystal ball. She's trying to
Mm,
predict the future and she's stuck trying to find answers that no one knows. If I leave, will it still hurt? If I stay, will I still be miserable? Will I regret my decision? Will my kids be okay? Will I be able to create the life for myself and my children that I always dreamed about? What will my family think? What will my friends think? We can't know the answers to this, right? And so not knowing the future and without that crystal ball, it produces lots of anxiety, worry, and fear. And that's why it's so painful.
yeah. So where does this pressure come from for the battle weary wives? Like why do so many women feel like they have to decide like right now, do I throw in the towel? Do I end this relationship? Do I do something different?
Her entire emotional house is on fire, and flames have spread through every room in her life and are negatively impacting and affecting her parenting, her work, her health and sleep, her ability to think clearly and rationally. And then on top of that, her circle of trust, those people that she counts on, they're giving her conflicting advice or opinions. Stay, go, do more. You've done enough, right? And so
Yeah.
that's just fanning the flames. And so
Yeah.
she is, panicking and it's all this pressure. So she thinks she needs to make a decision because the decision feels to her like a fire extinguisher. But clarity doesn't come from panic and pressure. It comes from a place of peace.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes it's that little bit of calm that you have to find that is the key. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it requires you to get centered. That's why I like
Yeah.
stop, drop, and roll so much.
I know, and I like the relationship with the fire extinguisher to stop, drop, and roll as
Exactly.
well. So,
Exactly.
because it's so true, right? I mean, that is your signature technique of what you need to do if you're going to really try to calm down the fires that are
Hmm.
in your marriage
Hmm.
and to go on. So, in your book, I know you devote a whole chapter to um, answering the question, can or should I stay in this marriage? Yeah, show us your book. Show us. There you go.
Yes.
Again, just so beautiful. So beautiful.
Heart.
And this is the first real hard copy,
Yes,
right?
this
Like
is the real
you.
copy. Yes, I was holding up a book with a printed cover, but yes, this is the book, and it's just amazing. It's beautiful. It feels good. It's beautiful, and it's tabbed and earmarked. And this is how I want you, my dear beautiful wife, to when you get your book, you're going to keep it by your bed table and have it tagged and highlighted because you'll read it more than once. But yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So in my book, I have it right here highlighted and tabbed. So that's, I would like for you to notice that, my dear wife, because you're going to want to look at these 10 signs and reflect on these and connect with your inner knowing. And there's 10, but I'm going to go over the first five.
I think that sounds great.
Okay. All right. 10 signs you should consider staying. And the first one is I still love him. That's a big
Wow.
one.
Yes, it is.
You married for love, not for, not out of necessity and not out of convenience. And through the battle weary days, that love is still present. So you have to ask yourself, do you still love him? And that's something worth holding on to. And the second one is, and this was a big one, I still respect him. So, can you ask yourself, do I still respect my husband? Do I respect him as a human? Do I respect the role he plays in my family? And if you do, that's something worth holding on to.
Wow, that's another great one.
Yeah. And thank you. And the third one is there's still intact emotional intimacy. And, even through the battles, even through the arguing, you still feel like there's emotional intimacy.
What does that mean, Veronica? Emotional intimacy. What does that mean?
It means you feel vulnerable and connected. I'll give you an example from my own marriage. Even through those dark, battle weary days, I would have a bad dream and I'd wake up, in the middle of the night and I'd reach over and wake up Shariar. And he would get up and he would hold me and caress me and make me feel better. That's emotional intimacy.
Okay,
So
that's
if you
great.
still have if that is still intact and you are experiencing emotional intimacy and connection, that's something worth holding on to. And
Great.
then the fourth one is kindness and thoughtfulness exist. So, despite the conflicts, is he still thoughtful? Is he still kind? Sharyar would still gas up my car, or he would, he'd make a note where my favorite coffee was low on inventory and order it, for me. And that shows that he cares about my well-being. So does kindness and thoughtfulness still exist? And if it does, that's something worth holding on to.
Great. Great.
And the last one that I'm going to read is positive impact. Does your own personal development and healing, does it positively impact your marriage? If it does, even if he's not doing personal development or healing, if your positive personal development and healing affect positively your marriage, then that's something worth noting and holding on to.
Wow, those are very powerful. And I
Mhm.
think what they're doing is, those signs show that there's still that connection there.
Yeah.
But Veronica, those signs. So if you see those signs in your marriage, does that mean you should stay?
Not necessarily. It does indicate, though, that there is a strong foundation and there are compelling reasons to consider rebuilding and healing in your marriage. And it does give you hope, but hope alone doesn't help you make a decision. Discernment does.
So then, Veronica, are there signs on the other side as well? Like signs that you should leave a marriage? And if there are they in the book? And what are
Absolutely.
they?
Yes, there are in the book, and these are just as important for that discernment piece that we just talked about, to consider leaving. And I'd like to go quickly through all 10 because
Okay.
these are red flags, okay? So ask yourself, is there consistent neglect or indifference? Is your husband still showing a blatant disregard for your well-being and health of you and your children? That lack of attention is a big disconnect and a red flag to consider leaving. And
Okay.
emotional abuse. Is your husband consistently emotionally abusive to you? Are his words hurting you and causing you psychological harm and creating a toxic environment for you and your children? If that's the
Yeah.
case, then that's definitely a red flag and a reason to consider leaving. Emotional abuse is just as dangerous as physical abuse, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in a little bit on the emotional abuse piece of it because I think sometimes we don't pay a lot of attention to that. And, words really do hurt. You said it, but they really do.
Hmm.
But it's not only just you, especially when the family is around, the
Yeah,
words hurt others or others see and feel that hurt for you, right? And so that plays in there as well. So I think it's a
absolutely.
really important.
And
Yeah.
children, and especially children, they are very receptive to being hurt by the words and the toxic environment that is being created in the marriage. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And
What's next?
the next one is endangering your family. So, is your husband's actions consistently endangering you or your family's safety and well-being? Is there any willingness to stop? Then I would consider that a red flag because safety and well-being is first, it's primary, and that's a
Yeah.
reason to leave.
So
Here's,
personal risk, right? Like there's a
yeah,
personal
is
risk or
he
family risk.
exactly? And this one is, I don't want to stay married. You no longer have a
Oh,
desire or willingness to be married. You don't need our permission to leave. If you feel
mm,
this is coming from a place of peace and self-understanding, that this is a reason to consider leaving or leaving.
yeah, we laugh at it, but so many times people do stay because they feel that they'll disappoint somebody else, but they don't want to be there.
Mhm.
And so,
Or they don't want to be a bad person, you know?
right, right, right. And so in your book, you're giving permission that this is a sign. This is a sign to go.
And it can be the only sign too, It
Uh-huh.
don't need to have
Yeah.
but
You don't
one,
want to be there.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Number five is involvement in illegal or immoral activity. So, is your husband doing something that's illegal or immoral that the impact or the consequence of, impact your well-being and safety for you and your family? And that's a reason to leave.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
if you can't be safe in your own house because of something that he's doing, absolutely. And then this one's huge. Is there a lack of respect? Now, on the other side, we talk about you respecting him, but is there a lack of respect? Is he kind to you? Is he patient with you? Is he willing to listen to you? If not, that is a red flag and a reason to consider leaving because respect is the foundation of a marriage. It's the minimum of a marriage.
Yeah. And it's like there's so many times you socialize with people and things, and you hear them say things that aren't respectful of the other partner. And you kind of question to yourself too, why does that person take that? And the question, again, it goes back to you don't have to, you don't need to, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't need permission to walk away from that either.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Number seven, ongoing addiction. Is your husband, does he have an active addiction to drugs, to alcohol, to sex, to gambling, and he's not willing to get treatment? He's not willing to be accountable? That is a huge red flag and reason to leave.
Hmm. Yes.
And then here's physical abuse. Is your husband physically abusive? Do you fear for your safety and well-being? And if that's the case, we talked about emotional abuse, words can harm, but physical harm to you and your children is a no-brainer to leave your marriage. So I would, if you're stuck, I would get help so that you can leave and get to safety fast.
Yes, absolutely. You can't live in fear.
You can't live in fear.
Yes.
And nobody has to give you permission. You just get
Right.
help and get yourself to safety. And then we have 9 and 10. That's, I'll combine those. Number 9 is there's sexual abuse of your children. Is your husband sexually abusing your children? That's an absolute reason to consider leaving. And is he sexually abusive to you? Is he violating your physical boundaries? Do you fear being sexually violated? That is also a red flag and to leave your marriage.
So, Veronica, I'm just kind of thinking, I'm processing everything that you've said. And so we have the signs that, reinforce staying, the signs to go. Does it matter how many are checked on each side, or do they have to be do you have to have check marks in both lists in order to stay or go and make that decision?
No. The short answer is no. All you need is one. If you have, like, say on the stay side, there's 5 or 6 or 7 reasons to stay. That's something worth holding on to. That's something that tells you there is a foundation to build from, to heal and grow your marriage. But if you have, you can have one on the other side. I don't want to be married. That's good enough. That it's not even good enough. It's a reason to leave. But
Right.
if
And you
you
don't need to check more than one.
you don't really need to check more than one. But
Right.
if you have several of those checked, then you need to be radically honest with yourself and radically honest with your observations and how you feel, whether you feel safe, whether you feel your health and welfare and your children's welfare are at stake. And those are
Yeah.
signs to leave.
Yeah, because those are very serious things.
Hmm.
And so, those really are the kind of things that make you stop, right? And really start to take a look at where things are and
Exactly.
assess. So deciding whether a marriage can be saved or should be saved is seldom straightforward, right? Like there's just like you say, we don't have that crystal ball, so
Yeah.
we don't really know.
Yeah.
So some situations clearly point to the end of a marriage, but
Hmm.
many others are in gray areas
Hmm.
where you might need to think about things and have reasons to stay, and there's some reasons to leave. So when you have these gray areas, what does that mean and what do you do?
The gray areas are complicated because there's both hope and hurt. So there's reasons
Hmm.
that are worth staying, but there's also reasons where there's struggle. So, and those things are real, and that's what makes the answer not so obvious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So like in a gray area, I don't know, do you have some examples of what would be maybe a gray area that you can share with everyone?
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Let me talk to you about a couple of those. You say you're married, but you feel like you're alone. So you're married, but not really married. You may have a
hmm,
husband that you love and he's kind and supportive, but he's just not there, emotionally or physically, or maybe he's physically there, but not there because he's stressed out, and I struggled with this one. I love my husband. He's kind and supportive, of me, but his job takes him away a lot, and I struggle with loneliness. And
Mm.
then you have the broken trust marriage, where there has been an affair and it has been acknowledged and understood, but it feels insurmountable to regain that trust back. And I have a client right now whose wife had an affair and he loves her, but he is grappling with, can I ever have that trust built? And so that's a gray area. And
Yeah.
then,
And that's a big gray area
yeah.
too, because those things are so hard to either even talk about, let alone overcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When trust
Yeah.
is violated that way, yeah, it does take, on the one hand, like I tell my clients, every transformation comes from a crisis. This is, having an affair is a crisis, but
Hmm.
that hurt, that trust, that doesn't go away. The moment that
Right.
you can acknowledge it, you can understand why it happened, but that's a difficult one.
Yeah.
That's a gray area of
Sure.
marriage. And the other gray area example of a marriage is they're like oil and water. They're good people. They got married, but there was so many battle-weary miles behind them. And they're coming to the point where they're asking, and I have a couple that I'm working for, amazingly smart, good people that are grappling with a 3-decade marriage, wondering, were we ever compatible? It's like oil and water.
Mm.
Is it? And so, it's just in that gray area. And so we're working through that right now.
Right. And I think what I hear you saying with that one too is that there's really no time limit out there,
Hmm.
right? For when you might experience an issue or when you question yourself on whether you should stay or go. Things can fester over time. And then all of a sudden, you stay together for a lot of what you feel are good reasons, but then you just hit a wall and you hit a point where you're asking yourself that question of, do I stay or do I go?
Hmm.
And that it can happen when you're first married, when you've been married for 40 years. It can happen at any point in time, and it can happen at any age. You can be 25, you can be 60, you can be looking at those same things. And I just heard a story of friends of ours that, after being married, now they're both in their 60s, that they've just decided that they want to really enjoy and live differently for the rest of their time. And they've made a choice to go at this point,
Yeah.
but it's after sustaining a lot of years of being partners and putting raising a family and
Mm-hmm.
putting them through, schools and starting their own lives and being independent, that they've realized that now they need to give some time to themselves.
And that happens when you have these decade-long marriages, 2 and 3, and even 4-decade marriages. It's so easy to put the marriage on a shelf and surviving, raising a family and having a career. And often these big life transitions, like kids leaving the nest or retiring from a job, gives the space to really look at the marriage. And you're right. A lot of that is a gray area marriage when you're sitting there looking, wow, we have been fighting. We have not had really a foundation. We have just been operating as two independent silos going through life. And maybe there's not anything on the 10, the 10 reasons
Hmm.
to leave, and there's some on the signs to stay, but that it's the marriage falls in that gray area because life carried the marriage when the marriage wasn't really being
Right.
co-created.
And
If
you've
that makes
learned to
sense.
just deal with some
Hmm.
situations,
Yeah,
right? You deal with the loneliness, you
yeah.
deal with those other things, or you
Or
just
don't.
start to live, kind of separately, but together.
Right.
So,
Yeah, separate
yeah,
together, but together. Absolutely.
yeah. So, this is all great stuff, Veronica. And I could keep talking to you about this all day, but what are some of the questions that women should ask themselves before making this life-changing decision?
Oh, good question. I want them to ask themselves, have I healed? Have I personally developed? Am I communicating my needs? Am I advocating for what I'm doing? Am I speaking up to make the marriage better? Is my partner doing, investing in making this marriage better? Those are
Mm.
questions that she really needs to grapple with and face honestly.
Yeah, and there's a lot to ask there, but you're really talking about going inside. We've
Mhm.
talked about this on the other podcast, but really going inside and understanding themselves first, putting themselves first, being number one. It
Mhm.
all starts with them.
It
It all
truly
starts
does.
with
Yes, it's absolutely going inside and finding your truth. And you can only do that when you're in the present and you are able to assess, what's happening in the moment
and assess yourself
and
and how
assess
you truly
yourself. Yeah.
feel.
And if
Yeah,
you can't, get help.
right.
Find a
So
therapist or
Veronica,
a coach.
we've talked about a lot of great things today. I don't want to run over what you just said. Find a therapist and a coach.
Yeah,
I think that's really important. Some generations resist that or have resisted that in the
that's
past, but I think that's just such an open door to having somebody support you as you go through the process.
That's right. We don't have to do this alone. And a lot of times when people finally do come to me, I ask them, how come it took you so long? And they were also, what if it doesn't work? So they're without the crystal ball, they're in the future thinking, well, if it doesn't work, you can't make a decision in that place. So absolutely get help.
Yeah, that's great. Great point. All right. So we've talked about so much stuff
Mhm.
today, all great, all important, all helpful to the battle weary wife that's listening. But what is that one thing that you'd really like them to walk away with after today?
I really want her or any couple that's watching to really walk away with slowing things down and being radically honest with yourself about what you are observing and what you're feeling. And remember that clarity doesn't come from panic and pressure. It arrives through presence and peace.
That's great. That is great. And wives, please do remember that because it's when you find that calm in yourself that you'll hear and know the best way to go.
Thank you.
So, Veronica, again, it's been great being with you today. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. You are magnificent, and your book now is being released and is out there for everyone to read. And so, I just have to recommend to everybody who's listening, get the book. Get the book, read the book, use the book, earmark the book, like Veronica said, and know and use it as the tool that it will be to you because you are not alone and this book will help you find your path.
Oh, thank you for saying all of that, Donna. I'm telling you, you have helped me so much being the most amazing guest host. Uh, it's not easy to be interviewed. I definitely would like to be on the other side, and you made it so easy for me to share my experience and my knowledge with my battle weary wife listeners and watchers. So thank you so much, and I would really love to honor you and turn the spotlight onto you, Donna, because you are an amazing woman who's raised a family, who's written books, and who has helped leaders become better, empowered leaders. And so I would love for you to tell everybody who you are and the book you wrote, and tell us where we can find your book.
Thank you so much, Veronica. So, my book is called Be the Difference Now. I'll hold it up
It's
so
so
you could see
beautiful.
it. And it's available out there on all of the major book sites, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any of them. It's also now available in audio, which I'm really happy about. I'm really proud of. So you can get an ebook, hard copy, or on Audible, in an audio format. So let's see, what is this book about? Well, I've spent my career developing executives to be strong leaders. But as I've looked back over my career and moving forward, and I see where we're heading in the future, I know that leadership has to change. And it has to change in the way it does things. We have to lose our old playbook of divide and conquer, command and control. People don't need to be told orders anymore of what to do, that very militaristic style. Going forward, it's about being present as a leader, being the person who's guiding and uniting people and bringing them to work together, empowering them to grow and to learn. A lot of the same things, Veronica, that you talk about in your lists in the book, you're developing them, you're helping them grow, you're supporting them as they work through creating their own careers in their own lives. And I always used to say, you spend the majority of your day working, why be miserable when you're doing it?
Oh,
And if you
so
are,
cool.
that's a big choice to make. And today it's very true. You don't need to be miserable. You spend the majority of your life working, but as a leader, understand that other people spend the majority of their lives with you. Make them feel good about what they do. And so that's the leader of the future, one who is bringing alignment and presence and clarity to the role by being a strong leader.
Oh, that alignment and clarity and uniting people together is the hallmark of leadership. And I love your book, Donna. It's impactful. You've had a whole career helping executives and leaders, and it is needed now, the kind of leadership that you write about. So thank you. Everybody buy Donna's book. It's available in all your favorite bookstores.
Yes, yes. But if you'd like to visit my website, it's Be the Difference Global. You can reach me on my email at Donna at Be the Difference Global. Love to hear from anybody who has any comments. Like we talked about with Battle Weary Wives, being a great leader, it all starts with you.
Mhm.
And, it's all about who you are and what you know about yourself and how you present that outward once you're strong inside. So, would love to hear
Absolutely.
from you.
That's wonderful. And like we've been saying all along, it starts here. It starts with you. And I love
Yes.
that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Donna, thank you again for being such a gracious guest host, for helping me along this way with these 4 episodes. I just can't thank you enough for your time and for your presence.
Oh, thank you, Veronica. It's been a great experience. Love doing it.
Well, folks, this brings us to the end of episode 4. Yay, we made it. We did
Yes.
episode. We did
Yes, we
four
did
episodes.
it.
And if this episode hit home for you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody who might be struggling in their marriage too. And I would love for you to like this podcast and hit subscribe. And if you have a minute, please leave a comment or a review. And please visit marriagerelationshiprestart.com for more resources. And yes, my book, Don't Throw in the Towel Yet, is available now in bookstores. And this is this has been such a pleasure being with you all. And my name is Veronica L. Nabizadeh. This has been Truth Bombs and Tantrums, the Marriage Real Talk podcast. And until the next time, don't fake fine. Don't go quiet. And for the love of all that's sacred, don't throw in the towel yet, because if it's worth fighting about, it's worth fixing. Thank you again. And thank you so much, my dear Donna.